Does the frog have similar organs to that of human beings? What do you think? The frog is an amphibian. That is, it can live on land as well as in water. What helps them to breathe under the water? Any guesses? Let us find it out. Frogs are cold-blooded animals, that is, they do not have a constant body temperature. Do you know what such creatures are called? They are called poikilotherms. Since frogs live in the wild, they must be able to protect themselves from predators, right? For protection from predators, frogs can camouflage. That is, they can change color while in water or on land so that they can blend in with their surroundings and mimic the environment, which is also called mimicry. They also undergo hibernation or winter sleep and estivation or summer sleep. Is frog coelomates? Yes, they are vertebrates as well as coelomates. That is, they have a body cavity or coelom. What do you think is the purpose of this cavity? In simple words, this is to accommodate the different organs and organ systems such as the respiratory organ, digestive organ and reproductive organs, etc. What would you say the skin of frogs is like? Is it rough or smooth? Dry or slippery? The answer is it is moist and slippery due to mucus which covers all around its body. The dorsal surface is green in color with irregular dark spots, while the ventral surface is uniformly pale yellow. Want to know something interesting? Frogs don't drink water but absorb it through their skin. Its body is divisible into head and trunk and has no neck and tail. It has a pair of nostrils and its eyes are covered by a nictitating membrane which protects them while in water. The tympanum membrane functions as ears which receives sound. It has forelimbs and hind limbs for locomotion which are webbed and also aids in swimming. The sexes of frogs are separate. Males have sound-producing vocal sacs and a copulatory pad on the first digit of their forelimb, which is otherwise absent in females. Just like humans, the frog has an alimentary canal and digestive glands. The mouth opens into a buccal cavity which leads to the pharynx and then to esophagus or food pipe. Can you think about which internal structure the esophagus opens into? Yes, it will open into the stomach and then to the intestine. And finally, it reaches the rectum, which opens to the outside through cloaca. Please keep in mind that the cloaca is a common opening for the digestive, excretory and reproductive systems. Apart from all these, frogs also have the pancreas and liver which secrete digestive enzymes and bile respectively in the stomach. Now, imagine a frog eating a grasshopper. Can you picture the fate and the routes the grasshopper would go through? First, it would enter the buccal cavity, then through the food pipe into the stomach, where it would be digested and all its contents and nutrients would be digested by different enzymes. How is food digested in frogs? Food is digested by HCl and gastric juices secreted by stomach. Bile emulsifies fats. It is secreted by liver. Pancreatic juices digest carbohydrates and proteins. The food which has been partially digested in the stomach is acidic due to HCl and is passed on to the small intestine, which is now called chyme. The first part of the small intestine, the duodenum, receives the chyme. Apart from this, the duodenum also receives bile from the liver and pancreatic juice from the pancreas via a common bile duct. Can you guess the function of bile and pancreatic juices? Well, they have the same function as in humans. Bile breaks down fats, which is called emulsification, while pancreatic juice digests carbohydrates and proteins. The final digestion takes place in the small intestine. Here, the absorption of digested food takes place. It is done through minute finger-like projections of the intestine called villi and microvilli. The undigested food is then passed out through the rectum and finally out through the cloaca. As mentioned, frogs are amphibians. How do you think they respire? Do they respire via the same organ on land and underwater? Or do they have separate organs for land and water? Any guesses? They have separate organs for breathing on land and under the water. In water, cutaneous respiration is seen, that is, respiration through their skin. So, how does the exchange of gases takes place cutaneously? Well, it is through the simple process of diffusion. What about respiration on land? How do the frogs respire on land then? The buccal cavity, lungs and skin acts as the respiratory organs on land, and respiration via the lungs is called pulmonary respiration. The lungs are located in the upper part of the thorax or trunk region. Air enters to the nostrils and then enters the buccal cavity, and finally it reaches the lungs. Recall that hibernation is a process when an animal is dormant during winter, and estivation is when an animal is dormant during the hot or dry period. Then how do they breathe? They breathe through their skin, that is cutaneous respiration. Let us now focus on the vascular system or circulatory system of frogs. They have a well-developed and closed type of circulatory system. The circulatory system includes heart, lymph channels, and lymph nodes. Let us look at a detailed study on the heart of the frog. The heart is three-chambered with two atria and one ventricle, which is then covered by pericardium. The sinus venosus joins the right atrium, which receives the blood from the vena cava. Blood circulation in frogs occurs through two systems. One is the arterial system. Here, the blood pumped by the heart is transported to all parts of the body by the arteries. Another is the venous system. Here, the veins transport blood from all parts of the body to the heart. A special venous connection exists between the liver and intestine, which is called hepatic portal system, and between the kidneys and the lower parts of the body, which is called the renal portal system. The blood consists of plasma, erythrocytes or red blood cells, leukocytes or white blood cells, and platelets. Now, shall we discuss some functions of the blood? The blood functions as a transport system for nutrients, gases, and water during circulation, which is achieved by pumping of the heart. The excretory system of frogs is well developed. It consists of a pair of kidneys, ureters, cloaca and urinary bladder. In the case of male frogs, the ureters emerging from the kidneys act as a urinogenital duct opening into cloaca, which means it serves for both excretory as well as reproductive purposes. However, in females, the excretory system is a little different from that of males. But how? Let's find it out. In females, the ovidate and the ureters open separately into cloaca. The urinary bladder also opens into cloaca. Recall that organisms are classified as ammonotelic, ureotelic and uricotelic animals based on the type of nitrogenous waste excreted. We can infer that the frogs are ureotelic animals. Do you know why? Or can you make a wild guess? I'll give you a hint. The answer lies in the type of substance that frogs excrete. Well, you guessed it right. Frogs excrete urea, hence they are ureotelic. The nervous system is well developed in frogs, consisting of both neural and endocrine glands. Do you know why this system is called control system? It is because it brings about coordination among the organs and controls the movement or secretion in the body. It controls the coordination through the hormones secreted by endocrine glands. The nervous system is composed of central nervous system, whose components are brain and spinal cord. Then the peripheral nervous system, whose components are cranial and spinal nerves. And finally, the autonomic nervous system that consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Now we shall talk about the structural organization. The brain is protected by a bony brain box or cranium. 10 pairs of cranial nerves arise from the brain. The brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain consists of olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres and diencephalon. Midbrain is responsible for vision, hence it has a pair of optic lobes. Hindbrain consists of cerebellum and medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata then continues into the foramen magnum, which continues into spinal cord and is enclosed in a vertebral column. Apart from all these, the frogs also have sense organs such as eyes for vision, sensory papillae for touch, nasal epithelium for smell and tympana for hearing. Endocrine system includes pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pineal body, pancreatic islets, adrenals and finally gonads. Whereas the nervous system consists of the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system, that is cranial and spinal nerves, and autonomic nervous system, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Frogs have separate sexes and well-organized male and female reproductive systems. The male reproductive organs have a pair of yellowish ovoid testes adhered to the kidneys by mesorchium. The vasa efferentia rises from the testis and enters the kidney into the Bidder's canal and finally into the urinogenital duct and out through the cloaca. Recall that cloaca is a passage area through which the fecal matter, urine and sperms are passed to the exterior. While the female reproductive organs include the ovaries, which are not connected to the kidneys. A pair of oviducts arises from the ovaries which opens into the cloaca separately. Fertilization is external and takes place in water. Frogs first undergo the larval stage called tadpoles and eventually metamorphose into the adult frog. And this process is called metamorphosis. I'm sure you had a wonderful session learning about the frog's anatomy. There are more interesting topics to broaden your knowledge in biology. Now, we shall summarize what we have learned.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.